Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1880B, and today's date is May 29th, 2019, and the title of the episode is, Did You Catch What Mueller Just Did? Deep State Sends a Message. Now, before we get started, I wanted to talk about privacy. Facebook expects to face a massive fine of up to $5 billion from the Federal Trade Commission as a result of an investigation into its privacy policies. Once again, big data fails to protect its consumers' privacy. Why should we keep trusting them? Well, we shouldn't. And one way to fight back is by using a virtual private network. Virtual Shield is my VPN of choice because it's the easiest and fastest VPN to use. Plus, they will never sell or share your data with anyone else. This month, Virtual Shield is offering a Memorial Day special of 30% off all VPN plans. Their no-log policy protects its users from any data breaches. Protect your personal data today by clicking the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, today we saw Mueller. He came out and he gave a press conference. And a lot of people are out there saying, oh my God, look what happened. The Democrats, the deep state, they can move to impeach. Well, actually, he did the opposite. We're going to be talking about that in just a few moments. But let's get into what is happening with CNN and BNL News. They tweeted out the following: developing as ratings plummet, CNN has been forced to fire essentially all their London correspondents, shutting down London coverage programs, asking them to reapply for a job. Joe M. responded to the BNL News tweet and said, looky here, fake news CNN are collapsing and they are phasing out to avoid bad optics. They just shut down London. Where's James Earl Jones when you need him? CNN no longer international. And CNN is having a lot of trouble, and everything that they've been reporting on is turning up to be fake, phony, and false. And there's a reason for this, because they were driven by the intelligence organizations. They were fed certain information, and that information is not coming true. The opposite is happening. And people are starting to catch on. And people are starting to realize, well, wait a minute. Why hasn't anything they said about the Russian collusion, about the obstruction case, why hasn't any of this come true? This makes no sense. I need to start to research. I need to look into what is going on. And when people look into what's going on, they realize they've been lied to. Remember, the government of the United States, Congress, passed a law that the mainstream media, they are allowed to use propaganda on the American people. And this is what they've been doing for a very long time. Now, very interestingly, it seems like Elijah Cummings, he has his own problems right now. Now, last week we reported that a charity run by Maya Rockeymoore, the wife of Elijah Cummings, received millions from special interest groups and corporations that had business before her husband's committee. And what's very interesting is that Elijah Cummings, he was in very poor financial condition and heavily in debt due to unpaid child support to 3 women he had children with until the last 10 years or so after he married his young politically connected wife, Maya Rockeymoore. Now, the IRS is looking into this. Of course, Cummings is saying that this is completely baseless. But if the IRS is looking into this, there must be some evidence. And it's very interesting how these people, they have no money, they come into Congress, and all of a sudden, they become very, very wealthy. And this has happened to many, many people. Now, we need to remember that the deep state, they're never going to give up attacking Trump. Why? Because what is on the line? Their lives, what they've done, their cover-ups. Remember, there are going to be criminal charges brought against them. Do you think they're just going to roll over and let this happen? No, they're going to fight, and they're going to get nasty. It's going to get heated as we move forward. They'll never give in. They're always going to push. And they have to, because if they stop, guess what? Everything falls apart for them. And this is why they need to keep their narrative of the story continually out there in the mainstream media. Now, this doesn't mean it's going to work. They think that this will help them, but it's not going to. Remember, their main goal, especially those people that are screaming the loudest, their main goal is to get rid of Trump, to get rid of all of this. Now, the deep state, they are panicking. And this is what it looks like when they panic. Maxine Waters, she tweeted out the following: "Low-life Trump, lying, crooked, tax evader, porn star, fornicator, should take his ridiculous self home, resign, and free us of what we will have to do to impeach him and throw him out of office." I mean, she is getting very, very nervous. Remember, those who scream the loudest, they have most to lose. John Brennan has responded to Trump's tweet. Trump tweeted out the following: "I was actually sticking up for sleepy Joe Biden while on foreign soil. Kim Jong-un called him a low IQ idiot and many other things, whereas I related the quote of Chairman Kim as a much softer, low IQ individual. Who could possibly be upset with that?" John Brennan replied to that and said, "You do not have a scintilla of the intellect, decency, and principles of VP Biden. What you do have is Biden envy." And you can see John Brennan, he is nervous. He is afraid. Same thing with James Comey. I mean, he's writing multiple op-eds trying to prove that Trump is a liar. So Comey tore into Trump again in his latest op-ed in the Washington Post. He called him a liar. And Comey is still running with the same exact talking points that the Russians were engaged in massive efforts to interfere with the 2016 election. And we know that this is not true. I mean, it's a well-established fact that Russia's $160,000 in Facebook ads was a drop in the bucket compared to the hundreds of millions of dollars spent on Facebook by two campaigns and their PACs. And Comey is very concerned because the walls are closing in around him. And he doesn't know how to get out of this. So he's trying to create the story of how this all happened. And Comey goes on to accuse George Papadopoulos for interacting with Russians when he now knows that this is untrue. But if you notice, they're sticking with their stories. And as you can see, Comey, Brennan, Waters, and the rest, they're sticking with their stories of Russian collusion, obstruction. Why? Because they have nothing else to point at. This is all they have. So they're just continually repeating it, thinking that this is going to help them. Mark Meadows, well, he decided to respond to Comey. Mark Meadows tweeted out the following: "For someone so quick to accuse @real Donald Trump of lying, James Comey is awfully eager to hide documents on the Russia investigation from Americans. The math is not hard to do. He knows his actions are about to be exposed by the evidence." And Meadows is absolutely right. Now, Meadows was seen coming out of the Department of Justice, and he was in there because he was reviewing text messages and new correspondence that pertains to the Strzok cover-up. Now, even Schiff, he's trying to recreate what was supposed to happen with the Mueller case. Paul Sperry tweeted out the following: "Breaking. Sources tell me Democrat House Intel Chairman Adam Schiff is demanding document production and testimony even from witnesses and subjects who had only been bit parts in Mueller's probe and report, repaving not only old collusion ground, but minor ground in Russia hoax. Schiff, he's trying to put anything he possibly can together and use it against Trump. They're scrambling right now. They don't know what to do." This is what panic looks like. George Papadopoulos tweeted out, "My advice to the investigators, keep the heat on the UK, Australia, and Italy, Malta. The weak links in the chain. There was a coordinated effort here to take us down. These countries have no loyalty anymore to the previous admin. Political change has rocked Europe. Leverage it." Now think about it. Think about all these deep state actors. They're lashing out, writing op-eds, calling Trump names. This is a sign of someone that is panicking. Now compare this to Admiral Rogers, George Papadopoulos, General Michael Flynn. Do you hear any of this from them? No, because they know they did nothing wrong. The people that are screaming and yelling and lashing out, carrying on, they know they've been caught. Paul Sperry wants us to remember a very specific person. He tweeted out the following: "Familiarize yourself with this name, Gabrielle R. Sands Rexach. He was the Pfizer gatekeeper at the Department of Justice in October 2016 when warrant to spy on Trump campaign was authorized. Remember, there are many individuals behind the scenes that we don't even know of. Yes, we see the players out front, but there are many, many behind the curtain. Now, as we said in the beginning, Mueller had a press conference today. The question is, why? Did Barr know about it? I believe he did, and I believe that this was planned. The question is, why now? So first, Mueller said something very interesting. Mueller once again accused Wikileaks of working together with Russia to damage the Hillary Clinton campaign in 2016. And this is not the first time Mueller made this accusation. Now remember, there is no evidence of a DNC server being obtained and reviewed by the FBI or Mueller team, and no evidence that Mueller ever spoke with Wikileaks, who released Hillary campaign manager John Podesta's emails. The Mueller report was just released, and Mueller's gang still clings to their previous claims that Russia hacked the DNC and then provided these emails to Wikileaks. This is being used to protect Hillary Clinton and the DNC. The Mueller report was supposed to show Russia hacked and Wikileaks was in on it, and Trump colluded with Russia and tried to obstruct the investigation. But the whole thing didn't work out. So the Mueller report was going to be used for many different agendas. One, to protect Hillary Clinton, to say, look, we did this investigation. She's safe. It was the Russians. They hacked the DNC. They got Hillary's emails. WikiLeaks was in on it, and we've just proved it. That's what they were going to use it for. The other part was to try to show either Russian collusion or obstruction. None of this is working for them. So he tried to use this, and this was their plan, to cover all of this up and then get rid of Trump, of course. But then we have several minutes into the presser, Mueller dropped a bomb on Pelosi and the Democrats and said Bill Barr actually released more of his report than he initially requested. What? Bill Barr actually released a lot more than Mueller was even going to do? So Mueller praised Attorney General Bill Barr, good faith, in his decision to release the full report, except for the grand jury material. Now, Mueller said the following. At one point in time, I requested that certain portions of the report be released. The Attorney General preferred to make the entire report public all at once, and we appreciate the Attorney General made the report largely public, and I certainly did not question the Attorney General's good faith in that decision. This completely obliterates Pelosi's assertion that Bill Barr lied and purposely misled the American people about Mueller's report. Mueller did not question Bill Barr's decision to release the report to Congress and the American people. What does this tell us? It tells us that Barr released the full report. Mueller praised him on it. Barr's name is now cleared of this. Think about that and hold that back in your mind, because we're going to be getting back to this. Paul Sperry pointed out something very interesting while Mueller was speaking. Mueller just misrepresented his own report. He claimed there was insufficient evidence to charge collusion conspiracy and that he was forbidden from charging Trump with obstruction. But here's what he wrote in his report. The evidence does not establish that the termination of Comey was designed to cover up a conspiracy by the Trump campaign and Russia, because the investigation did not establish that the president or those close to him were involved in the charged Russian computer hacking or active measure conspiracies, or that the president otherwise had unlawful relationship with any Russian official. So right now, Mueller is contradicting himself, and he's out there, first of all, praising Barr, keeping the pretense that, yes, Russians hacked into the DNC, they worked with WikiLeaks, and he's contradicting what he said in his report. Let's continue. Mueller then said, if we had confidence the president did not commit a crime, we would have said so. We did not, however, make a determination if the president did commit a crime. Mueller then said the president cannot be charged while in office. So let's review this for a second. Let's break this apart. Number one, If we had confidence the president did not commit a crime, we would have said so. No, they wouldn't. Why? Because this is not the job of a special counsel. The rule of law is innocence until proven guilty. You prove guilt in a court of law. You don't prove innocence. But first, you must gather the evidence to bring the case to court. You must have the evidence to support the crime. Mueller didn't have the evidence. Mueller's job is not to say the president was innocent or guilty. His job is to gather the evidence. The court then decides if he is guilty or not. Since Mueller couldn't provide the evidence, there is no guilt. Then Trump is innocent. Then he said the following: "We did not, however, make a determination if the president did commit a crime." They weren't able to prove that the president committed a crime. After all the subpoenas, all the warrants, everyone testifying, they ended up with nothing. They couldn't prove there was a crime. If you can't prove it, then the president is innocent of a crime. He went on to say that even if the president was to have committed a crime, we would never pursue indicting the president because he legally cannot. But if there was a crime, they would have included it in the report. They didn't include any of that in the report because there was no crime. And believe me, if there was a crime, it would have been included in the report. This is what the deep state was waiting for. They were waiting for that part in the report so they can use it to impeach Trump. And he went on to say that they could indict co-conspirators, but none were indicted. Why? Because they couldn't find any evidence. They couldn't find anything, so no one was really indicted. Let's move on to number 2. Dems claim Mueller was going to testify and tell us about the conspiracy. Well, the entire song and dance of having Mueller testify in front of the House is now gone. Because why? Mueller says he's not going to testify. Number 3. Dems claimed Barr was hiding conspiracy from the public in redactions. They needed the entire report. Barr gave it to them, and Mueller backs this up. That the report was given to them in full, except for the grand jury stuff. Guess what? He cleared Barr, just like we said before. Number 4. Mueller says the case is closed. This is the end. He will not testify. He will not answer questions. We now have closure. Nothing was found. Barr is in full control. No longer can the deep state use Mueller. Trump tweeted out the following: "Nothing changes from the Mueller report. There was insufficient evidence, and therefore, in our country, a person is innocent. The case is closed. Thank you." Now remember, when Mueller first came out, he did mention something about that you are innocent until proven guilty. Mueller did not produce any evidence whatsoever to show or to back up crimes of Trump, which means they couldn't find anything. It's not his job to say that he's guilty or innocent. His job is to gather the evidence, to build the case, to present it to the courts. The jury, the judge, they decide with all the evidence who is guilty, who is innocent. That is it. So when he came out and said, "Oh, if we thought he was innocent, we would say so." No, that is not his job. But again, why was all this done? That's the bigger question. But first, the White House tweeted out the following: "The special counsel has completed the investigation, closed his office, and has closed the case. Mr. Mueller explicitly said that he has nothing to add beyond the report and therefore does not plan to testify before Congress. The report was clear. There was no collusion, no conspiracy, and the Department of Justice confirmed there was no obstruction. Special counsel Mueller also stated that the Attorney General Barr acted in good faith in his handling of the report. After 2 years, the special counsel is moving on with his life, and everyone else should do the same. Sarah Sanders." So, what did Barr have Mueller just do? Now remember, before, the deep state operatives, they were saying that Barr is working for Trump. Barr is keeping Mueller from speaking. Barr is doing this to Mueller. Mueller needs to come out and give us all the information. Well, Barr decided to allow Mueller to get out there and to tell everyone everything. What did he just do? Well, first of all, this was a setup. Remember, the Senate was the key. Remember, there is no crime. There is no evidence. The Dems are falling into a trap. Think about all the people out there that are going to be talking about impeachment. If they push for impeachment, they will need evidence. They will need facts. They will need proof. They don't have any. There never was a crime. The crime was on the other side. But let's say they get the vote in the House to impeach. It moves to the Senate. The Senate then shoots it down. Trump is then vindicated by the Senate and by Mueller. Think about it. This is why they're never going to impeach. This is why they're never going to follow through. Even though there's individuals like Nadler, Schiff, Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, and the rest who are saying impeach, and Maxine Waters, I don't want to forget about her. Impeach, and Brennan. Impeach. It's not going to happen. Now, Nadler, he's saying he's going to be pursuing impeachment. He's going to hold Trump accountable. And he put out this statement. At the bottom of the statement, it says, no one, not even the President of the United States, is above the law. Now, remember that. Remember what Nadler just said. Let's go to post 2700. Q, in this post, says nobody should be above the law, no matter how massive the spider web is entangled. And nobody should be above the law. And that pertains to everybody. And yes, Nadler can come out there. He can say that he's going to be looking for evidence. He's going to be looking for crimes. He's going to be looking for proof. But guess what? There is nothing to find. They'll need this for impeachment. If we move to post 3028, what did Q tell us? This is March 11, 2019. Impeachment requires facts, evidence, proof. Impeachment requires 2/3 vote of the Senate. Now, Pelosi and Schumer, they know this. They refuse to endorse impeachment after the Mueller statement. They are catching on. They realize that it's a trap. All the other people out there that are screaming impeachment, they have a lot to lose. And they're getting nervous and afraid. And this is why they're screaming on the top of their lungs. So the question is, why now? Why did Mueller do this? Was it to help the deep state? No. They need facts, proof, evidence. They don't have it. They have propaganda. I believe Barr thought it was necessary to clear his name before he proceeds with the D-class and everything else. Remember, they were hitting against Barr for a very long time, trying to make it seem like he's doing this in favor of Trump, that he basically wrote the summary, which really didn't reflect the full Mueller report, that he was hiding things, and he wouldn't allow Mueller out there to speak. That was the propaganda. So Mueller, by praising Barr, cleared Barr's name. The report says it all. There is no other evidence that he's going to produce. He's not going to testify in front of the House. The case is closed. He's shutting down the office. Barr now is in control. So everything that they were trying to do, everything that they were trying to say about Barr has backfired with this one press conference. Yes, all the other things about impeachment, that's just noise. Barr really wanted Mueller to clear his name because Barr is pursuing what? The declassification. He's pursuing the investigations. And if everyone thinks that he's siding with Trump and he's hiding evidence that Mueller collected, he was going to have a very difficult time. And he needed Mueller to clear this all up so he could proceed. That's why all of this was done now. And now they're really getting nervous and afraid. Coming out of the Inspector General's office, they put out an investigative summary, and this is like a little preview of what is to come. And it says, findings of misconduct by an FBI Deputy Assistant Director for unauthorized contacts with the media, disclosing law enforcement and other sensitive information to the media, and accepting a gift from the media. The Department of Justice, Office of the Inspector General, initiated this investigation upon the receipt of information from the Federal Bureau of Investigation alleging that a then FBI assistant director, had numerous contacts with members of the media in violation of the FBI policy. Additionally, it was alleged that the DAD may have disclosed law enforcement or other sensitive information to the media without authorization. This matter is among the OIG investigations referenced on page 430 of the OIG review of allegations regarding various actions by the Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigation in advance of the 2016 election. The OIG investigation concluded that the DAD engaged in misconduct when the DAD disclosed to the media the existence of information that had been filed under seal in federal court in violation of 18 U.S.C. 401, contempt of court, provided without authorization FBI law enforcement sensitive information to reporters on multiple occasions, had dozens of official contacts with the media without authorization. This was put out May 29th, 2019. This is just the beginning. They're putting this information out a little bit at a time. Now, down at the border, it seems that Brian Colfage and his wall that he's building, remember, he raised around $20 million on GoFundMe, and they started to build the wall this Memorial Day weekend, and it seems like he got a cease and desist order from the local government. He tweeted out the following: "Here we go. Liberals trying to intimidate us. Sound the alarm. The governor trying to flex City of Sunland Park said we had no permits trying to shut us down. Bullshit. They were on site Friday and gave us the green light to build. And it looks like they're trying to stop the wall." And it seems like all these individuals are trying to stop the wall. And there's a reason for this. They don't want the wall being built. Now, John Bolton, he is claiming that he has evidence that it was Iran behind the bombing of the Saudi oil tankers. Now, of course, he has absolutely no evidence whatsoever, and he's using this as leverage per Trump. Does this mean there's going to be invasion? No. He's allowing Bolton to do what he does best, to push propaganda to make Iran do what he wants. And that is to get rid of the black site within Iran and start listening to him and not the other individuals like John Kerry, Obama, Feinstein, and the rest. And they're trying to push the agenda, because who better to have out in the front line to think that you're going to war but Bolton? He's a warmonger. He's a neocon. That's why he's there. That's why Pompeo's there. But we know from Trump, we're not going to invade. We're not going to have regime change. He's a negotiator. Now, very interestingly, the Iranian president, Hassan Rouhani, signaled that talks with the United States might be possible if Washington lifted sanctions. Now, this is very interesting, because a couple days ago, they said there's going to be absolutely no negotiations whatsoever. Now they're saying, listen, if you lift some sanctions, we'll start to speak to you. So it looks like Iran is ready to speak. Now, I think behind the scenes, I think there is already deals being made, just like in North Korea. What we see out in the front is to keep the deep state, the mainstream media, off balance, so they don't know what's going on. And I'm getting the sneaky suspicion that deals have already been made, and now they're saying, listen, we will discuss it if you lift sanctions, and this is the beginning stages of it. Now, the deep state, they decided to send Trump a message today. A man near the ellipse, near the White House, set himself on fire. He was taken to the hospital. He had a lot of burns on him, and this happened around 12:20 p.m., and it was near the ellipse near 15th and Constitution Ave. And I need to go back to post 832. This was March 3rd, 2018, when we had something similar happen. A demonstration was made today in front of the White House. It showed they can control innocence. It was a direct threat. This is not a game. I do believe they were sending Trump, the patriots, a message. Do not pursue this. Bad things will happen. Well, message received. And I do believe the patriots, well, they're listening to the chatter. They understand what these individuals are up to. And I do believe they have taken precautions. And with what happened today with Mueller clearing Barr's name, this opens everything up for Barr, because it shows that everything that Nadler, Pelosi, Schumer, and all the rest were saying about Barr is not true. And now he can proceed with everything else. This was planned on purpose. And basically what was done here, the entire special counsel's office, the whole thing was put to rest for closure. And the deep state, the Dems, they can't use Mueller anymore. They can't say, can we have the evidence? Who do they need to speak to now? Barr. That is it. He is in full control. The patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared.